Hello and welcome to Two Grooms.
Pod.
I'm Cleo.
I'm Shannon.
And welcome, guys. So this is I believe this is about to be episode 6 of this podcast. And, every episode we're a little bit better.
Yeah. It's gonna take me a little time to get comfortable, but I'm getting there.
I it's not like I'm this guru of the podcast world. I too am, learning every time because I actually prefer non-visual podcasts. Like I prefer when it's just audio.
Really?
Yeah. Because I feel like when you do visual, you have to be mindful of too many things.
I understand that.
Do I have popcorn in my teeth? Which do I, by the way?
No, you're fine.
Okay, just all that kind of stuff. So if you guys go on the Spotify, because on Spotify now you can watch the podcast or listen to the podcast. So you won't hurt my feelings either way, as long as you watch or listen. And also,
I like visually looking
yeah,
at, the host.
you do.
Yeah.
Mm.
It keeps me more interested in it.
I can see that. Yeah. I don't know if y'all can hear the sirens going off. We're still in Chicago. We're still in the city. And it's giving city right now. It's giving there's lots of sirens going off in the background. I don't know.
It's definitely different from what we're used to.
Yeah, the quiet,
Yeah.
The quiet, serene countrysides of Texas.
Yeah.
So one of the things we did, because we're winding down our trip here in beautiful Chicago. And so one of the things that we did was we went to see a show tonight. We went and saw Teatro Zen. Am I saying that right? Zenzani.
Okay.
Teatro Zenzani.
I couldn't make out what they were.
Yeah. Which was like part cabaret, part magic show, part circus, Cirque du Lay.
Yeah.
It was all of those things in
dinner setting.
In a dinner setting, yes.
Yeah.
And it was action packed, singing, karaoke, comedians, drag queens, acrobats,
all that.
bubbles. It was it was a lot going on. And I'm glad we did it because we had never done anything like that before together.
Right.
And so I think one of the things I wanted us to start doing as a couple was trying to do just different things that we hadn't done. And just, because I think, we're a young couple. We're not young people, but we're a young couple. And I think it's just important to consistently throw in things every now and then because we both don't mind doing the same stuff. We don't mind our habitual things.
I mean, you like what you like.
Yeah, you like
when you're in your comfort zone, that makes you happy too.
Mm-hmm.
And getting out of that comfort zone, putting on clothes, you don't have to get all dressed up, but getting out of the house,
right,
and experiencing something different, is really great.
Yeah,
and I had a good time. I had a great time. Because I did 2 things that I'd never done before. The magic show, and then tonight, which was so many things.
So
you said the singing and the acrobats and
the 4-course meal.
Yeah, it was just it was great.
It was close. Matter of fact, after the show was over, as people were piling out, we were waiting for our lift to come, and someone was like, "Are you sure you weren't in a plant? Y'all weren't plants a part of the show?" We're like, no, we weren't, because we were that engaged in the show. And I think it was just kind of one of those things. I looked at Shannon and I said, okay, we are leaving any kind of introversion behind tonight. And we're just going to...
Yeah, he gave me that speech.
We're just jumping in.
Because I'm very introverted and, it shows on my face a lot. So sometimes I have to bring myself out of that, you know, comfort zone that I have, and kind of.
Yeah, what you definitely did,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And the
Recommend it.
people
Yeah,
were
everybody were
surprisingly
nice.
friendly.
Yeah, yeah.
Very friendly. Like it was giving Southern.
It really was. I was surprised for a city like this to have so
Yeah.
many people looking and talking and engaging.
Yes. And maybe that's the vibe of people who go to that kind of event.
Yeah.
So
Just, people striking up conversations, not knowing us.
Yeah.
You know.
So Chicago represented for us,
Yeah.
maybe it was just the neighborhood, but Chicago, y'all, wow, we appreciate
I
you.
love it. Love it.
So we're going to get into our topics. We have several things to get into. One of the first things we're going to talk about is advice for young gays. And so we told y'all before that we had a young reader or listener reach out and say how much it meant to him to hear this kind of thing from us, because there, especially in small towns, there really isn't a system or a way for gay kids to get mentorship from other gays, older gays, people who've lived. So we will take different moments and opportunities in this podcast. We agreed to do that. That's not what the whole podcast situation is about, but I think it's imperative on us as people who have some lived experience to share that lived experience.
Yeah, but I was pleasantly surprised that someone did reach out in this day and time with so much information. That person, reached out and said it helped them.
Right.
To hear that.
Yeah.
Because growing up for me, a while back, I had nobody to confide in. I was really scared about talking about my feelings or my thoughts. And I had nowhere to go for any kind of mentorship or just to, just learn things about not only gay community, but just in life general.
Yeah.
So, with so much information now, it's easy for, kids to gain something.
Sure. Yeah. You could Google it, but I think it's just different when it's verified by people,
True.
when here's somebody's talking it, right?
Yeah.
So the first thing on the list, number one, is don't wait for the other guy to make the first move. What do you feel about that? Don't wait for the other guy to make the first move. What do you think about
That's
that?
always been a challenge for me because, really quiet and shy and introverted, and I don't like rejection. And since I'm not a talkative person, like, what do I say?
Right.
How do I carry on a conversation and try to lead it?
Right.
And show my interest.
Yeah.
So that's always been a challenge for me.
Well, I think you said a couple of things there. I don't like rejection. No one likes rejection. Right. So that may be why the guy you like isn't reaching out to you, because both of y'all don't like talking about you don't like rejection. Nobody wants to take a chance. Then there's nothing. Well, that's the other thing. If they're into you, the fact that you make any effort at all will be enough. You know what? The fact that you just walked up and said, "Hey, how are you today?" That's it. That's all you need if someone's into you. If you got to start working into a whole 007, Mission Impossible plan to get them to maintain conversation, to want to schedule a meeting with you after this first talk, he's not that into you.
True, but we know what if we had the same, personalities? So we're both kind of, fumbling to say something or keep the other person interested. I ran into that a lot.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not saying you might not be awkward, but even if you're awkward, you won't be so awkward you can't say, "Well, can I have your number?"
True.
If you want the number.
Yeah.
You won't be so awkward you just say, "Well, I would love to see you again," or when can we meet up again, or something. But the one of you will do something. So But the point is, don't be afraid if you really like someone to take a chance and approach them. Um,
I mean, that's great. But it is hard
it
for
is,
certain, for some of us to do that.
but it can still be hard, and you do it.
Yes,
So it
absolutely.
might be hard for you.
Absolutely.
It may never stop being. That's the thing. Don't wait for it to stop being hard, and for you to approach somebody.
hmm
Just need to just go and do it
Yeah,
if
but
it's
that's
difficult
the
for you.
part of building your confidence and your interpersonal skills, period.
Yeah, you got to
Yeah.
practice doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
but you got to recognize because in these comments, I think there's somewhere in here about don't think about their. I didn't put it in here because I don't know if I believed it. Oh, yes, it is. Actually, it's number 3. There are no leagues. Just because you're not attracted to yourself doesn't mean other guys don't think you're hot. And I disagree with part of that. There are leagues.
there are leagues.
But yes, just because you're not attracted to yourself, that doesn't mean other people aren't attracted to you. You may not like your belly, but there may be someone else who loves that belly on you, right? Like there's different things,
True.
So, but you do need to develop a sense of self-awareness
hmm
in the sense that you cannot be demanding something of someone else that you cannot bring to the table.
True.
So you cannot be demanding 6-packs when you got a barrel. You can't demand it. That don't mean you can't get somebody with a 6-pack.
True.
It just means you should not be demanding, and that be the standard of your. Well, I only date guys with 6-packs, but you sit up there with a Santa Claus belly. That is unreasonable to me.
Yeah, but I think you still like what you like. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
but you need to work on it. You need to adjust your like. Most people like somebody who's super fit. Like they like super fitness. Where most
Yeah.
people are attracted to muscles. Most people are attracted to those things.
Yeah.
Sure there's exceptions to the rule, but most people do, right? Okay, girl, fine. You're attracted to that, but you need to also learn to maybe love them a little soft around the midsection. If you soft around the midsection,
True. True. I think people need to stay in their
I'm not saying that. Go ahead, what you said.
I think they need to stay in their league um a lot. I mean, a
I
lot
just
more.
say be aware of it. Be conscious of what
Okay,
you're
that's
bringing to the
better.
table.
Be aware. Yeah.
I'm not trying to take it. I'm trying to keep you from getting canceled. Be,
No, I think people do have expectations that they can't live up to, and I think
yeah.
they need to, like you said, be aware.
Be aware of
Yeah,
what you're bringing,
be aware.
and even if you're like, well, yes, I'm overweight, but I do prefer people who are athletic. Then you may be single longer because more than likely people like-minded people like to be with like-minded people. So
Mhm.
fit people usually want to be with somebody who's fit, who also they can go running with or what have you, right? I mean, yes, there's chubby chasers and things of that nature.
Yes,
Yes, we
yes,
know about those
true,
girls.
true.
But do you want to be fetishized? You know,
As long as they get attention, I think it's okay.
you know. Okay. I don't want. Okay, that's a conversation for another day. Let's get to
Yeah,
this
that's a deeper
list.
conversation. I get it.
The number 2 is don't pause your life because you're waiting to be a better version of you. A lot of people will say, I'm going to take that trip to Cabo, but I got to lose 30 pounds first before I get on the beach. That's an example. Or I want to buy that dress, but that dress will be too big. I don't want to buy it in the size I am. I want to wait. I love the dress, but I don't want it in that 13. I want it in the 8. So I'm going to wait till I get down to an 8. That's
hmm
the weight stuff is the biggest thing that comes to me.
I get it.
Um, you know, or I'm not going to approach that guy because I don't know. I don't have a good enough job yet. Maybe when I get a better job. But it's like you really should live your life now
Yes, I think,
because
but
tomorrow's not promised.
true. But I think we still get in our comfort zone in a lot of things, and we, continue with the status quo because it's comfortable.
Yeah, yeah,
Because sometimes changing your weight, changing your job, changing how much money you make, changing certain parts of your personality requires work.
yeah.
And depends on, how much work you want to put into it.
Right.
You know, you may just stay where you are for a long time, just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Which is the reason why you should live, because with procrastination, or maybe you just have a difficult time losing weight, or whatever the thing is, and then you end up, having not lived so much life because you're waiting for everything to be perfect.
True.
And things may never be ideal, and
yeah, I've lived through that. I wanted to have children, and I waited and waited, and now in my head it's waiting again because I'm thinking I'm too old now. I kind of sacrificed some of my earlier years.
But you're not waiting to do it. You said it's too late, it's over. Like, you're not waiting anymore.
No, I don't. I just don't want to be an older parent
Right. No, I understand.
child now.
But so you're just saying you waited too late and it's over now, is what has happened for
Yes,
children.
I have the desire, but I don't. I in my head I know that I'm not gonna try it now, even though I feel like I'm ready in so many ways.
You don't have the time.
No, I think I have the time. I think the desire um has lessened a little based on my age. I think my age is the only thing
That holds you
now.
back.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I meant by time. Like, you think you're gonna be too old and
Yeah,
not able to.
I want to play
Mm-hmm.
with the child out in the yard and be a mobile, healthier,
Yeah.
parent.
No, I can respect that.
Yeah,
So the moral of the story is you should have had a kid 10 years ago,
at least.
at least.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have waited for the perfect situation,
I should not have waited. I should have tried to make it work.
even if it's on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted a support system, family around
Yeah.
and a better career, that kind of thing,
Right.
or a family to do it with.
Yeah. Yeah.
A mate I could share that with.
So there's the lesson.
Yeah.
If it's something that you really want to do, you should go on and do this.
Yeah.
So we said number 3 was there are no leagues. We had that conversation. Number 4, use a condom. And I think so. Use a condom. I say, yeah. If you're someone who's bebopping around town, you're having anonymous sex, you're having multiple partners. You want to use a condom because there's other stuff you can get that, even though there's PrEP now, so you're less worried maybe about HIV. There's still other things you can get that could be with you for a long time or forever. So you want to be careful with that. But I also know the reality of being young and wanting to experience the fullness of sex. Right. And so use a condom should be a good habit. But the other habit should be not assuming anyone's status, asking questions, but also taking responsibility if you choose not to do that. Like, just going, okay, it- you know, if you're messing around with people you don't know, or you're promiscuous, then you also have to take some responsibility for your sexual health.
Yeah, I mean, it's always preferable for me to have protection, no matter what. It's always safer to do that. But nowadays, I know, you and I had a conversation with some friends about
Yeah.
condoms, and it was like some of us older ones were like condoms, and then the younger crowd was like condoms, and they laughed, and I was like, wow, they're not using condoms now.
Yeah, the kids aren't.
Yeah, they were like, who does that anymore? I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And times have changed
Because of PrEP, I think it makes it different. But
like you said, there are other things.
there are other things, and so that's fine if you don't. But you gotta be responsible. You gotta accept responsibility.
Yeah.
for any outcomes.
Yes.
There's no number 5. There is no perfect guy for you out there for you. Learn to compromise in relationships.
I think that's the hardest part for a lot of people. You know, a lot of guys want it their way
Right.
all the time. They want to tick, these boxes off of
Yeah.
their perceived perfection in someone,
Mhm.
and they don't want to take the negative parts or the
Yeah.
parts that aren't on their perfect list.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you lose out on a lot of good people
Mhm.
because of things like that,
Yeah.
having those perfect lists. And there are a lot of things that you can deal with,
Mhm.
and maybe the person doesn't know,
Right.
or you can help them change. Or, I mean, you don't give away all of the good for one or two bad things.
Right. Exactly. It's that 80-20 rule. People
Hmm.
say if 80% of the things are good and 20% is bad, you can live with that.
Hmm.
And that means 20% is not like part of that. Because you might have some deal breakers. So your deal breakers should not be in the 20%, right?
True.
But if you have a ton of deal breakers, like, oh, he smacks, oh, he leaves his clothes on the floor. Now that's fine. Some people are super, super anal retentive, and leaving clothes on the floor might be a
Right.
deal breaker for you. But what aren't? Like, you really need to do like a list for yourself so you can know. And if you have a list, let's say, of however much it is, and you do the percentages of it, let's say you got a list of 10 things, and on your list of 10 things, 5 of them are deal breakers. You got a problem.
Yeah, your list. Yeah.
Your list is too stringent.
Yes. Yes.
You can have a list of preferences, 8 preferences, 2 deal breakers. That's what I'm going to give you. You know what I mean? That's the percentage. If you
Yeah.
got 100, 80 can be preferences, 20 deal breakers.
Mhm.
Like, let's be reasonable.
Yeah. It's all about reasonability, whatever, if that word. And just not putting deal breakers that are just so minor that it doesn't, like, as long as it doesn't kill you, harm you, or whatever. I
Yeah.
think you can kind of deal with certain things. And we all have little idiosyncrasies, right?
Right. Yeah. Totally.
Um, but it's about compromise as well,
Hmm.
because you may have a list for that person, deal breakers, and they may have it for you too. So it's like
Yeah.
you're both kind of butting heads, but you just have to compromise and communicate and, deal with the ones that are just minor,
Right. Right.
and,
Yeah.
live your best lives together.
So I'm going to skip over some of these because in the interest of time. Um, I really like number 9 here. Don't be embarrassed to discuss gay medical issues with your doctor, and if your doctor has a problem with it, you need to get a new doctor, and that is really true. Or if you don't feel
Mhm.
comfortable talking about your gay sex life, with your doctor, or if you do talk about it and your doctor gives you winces or is uninformed and don't want to get informed,
Right.
then you need to find a different primary care physician or whatever the situation might be.
Well, definitely, your doctor should know everything about you medically,
Yeah.
because he's, your caregiver, so to speak,
Right. Right.
to make sure that you live a healthy life
Hmm.
inside and out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you can't tell him any aches or pains or whatever, there's a problem.
Totally. Totally.
There's a
So
problem.
so beware.
Mhm.
And finally, this is number 10. Being in a long-term relationship doesn't guarantee happiness. Be single and happy. Then you'll be able to not just take what someone gives you, but bring happiness into the relationship.
Okay. So what do you define long term?
Well, just being no, it's not really about the length. It's
Okay.
about being in a relationship, being in as opposed to being in uh because every engagement with a human being is a relationship. I think is kind of how this is written.
Okay.
So there's just saying like being in a monogamous, being in a committed relationship with someone is not necessarily going to guarantee your happiness. So you need
Hmm.
to be happy as an individual with yourself. One of the things that Will Smith wrote in his book that I'll remember, I remember a lot of things, but was about how when he got to that point where he realized he couldn't make Jada happy and that she really couldn't make him happy either, that they had to each figure out happiness for themselves and then be happy together. Because trying to make her happy was making her miserable, and her not being happy because he was trying to make her happy was making him miserable
I get it.
too. So you would think they're together, they're married, they have these kids, they have the money, da, da, da. Where is the happiness? It's because you haven't done the work on yourself. So yeah, you got to do the work.
Yeah, I think that's easier said than done sometimes because when you're in a relationship, you connect and you bond and you want your other half to be happy. So you do some compromising. You kind of do things that you may or may not want to do to make that person happy. So I think over time, you begin to lose a part of yourself,
You could,
for the
yeah.
relationship or for the other person. So I do understand maintaining oneself so you can be whole to bring to the relationship overall, right? To
Yeah.
make it stronger.
Right, right.
And I think that's a great point, because sometimes, relationship may not last that, as long as you want it to, or relationship may not be the best relationship you should be in.
Yeah, and I hear what you're saying, and about how when you're in a relationship, how you can kind of compromise yourself out of happiness, trying to make somebody else happy. But I think what this is saying is that just realize that being in a relationship isn't the holy grail necessarily. That isn't the whole, like, oh, if I get in a relationship with someone, bam, I'm going to be happy. That isn't necessarily the magic answer. The answer is if you come into a relationship in need of, there's something missing, like there's internal joy that's missing. No one's going to bring that to you. That doesn't mean people can't bring you joy. Your partners don't bring you joy. But if you're just a naturally sad person, and that you are routinely are sad, no other human being can fix that. Having a baby won't fix it. Getting married won't fix it. Having affairs won't fix it.
Okay.
There's some work to do.
Yeah. So I guess I was reading that a little wrong. I was interpreting it a little different.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
I get it.
Okay, so we're gonna move on because we spent a whole lot of time on that.
Those are important things.
But they are important things. You're right. They are. All right. So this question is: how do you how have you ever how have you overcome the fear of changing jobs? I said that again because I had a stumble moment here. How have you overcome the fear of changing jobs? Have you changed jobs and took a risk and left jobs before?
I did. At first, when I first started working, I guess real jobs and outside of college and that kind of thing.
You had a career.
I stayed at jobs way longer than I should have, and it wasn't until later on, maybe after maybe 10 years of being out, I started like saying, "Okay, I'm worth more than this. I need to branch out, learn more professionally and personally, and get out of the same town I was in, and just kind of grow."
Right.
And that's when I initially left South Carolina and went up to Maryland and started living a different life. Um, and sometimes, and it took myself to do it, but then my brother said, "What are you still doing there?"
So there was some external motivation.
Yeah, it was just so he just said it, and it was just I guess I was at a moment of silence, and it just I received it. At that particular time, said, "Okay, yeah, what am I doing here?"
Yeah.
And within months, I had said, "Okay, I'm out of here."
Gotcha.
And I was laser focused on doing that. Outside of that, once I moved, um, I did stay at other jobs, too long, not being happy, just complaining. And I'm like, why are you complaining? Why are you still here if
Right.
you're not treated correct, right or whatever?
Right.
Um, and it took, some guts to kind of say, okay, I'm just going to branch out and do some
Hmm.
things that are out of my comfort zone.
Hmm.
And those have been some of the best decisions I've ever made, in my career.
Mm.
But it is tough.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is tough.
I think there's different moments that push you out of that
Mhm.
because to me, it's almost the 80-20 rule again. It's like, okay, well, there's no perfect job, right? There's no perfect
True.
job.
True.
And so you're always going to have some issues. Um, but if you get to a point where there's more issues than good things, or there are certain things that are really important to me, like being appreciated by my boss, being appreciated with the money,
Mhm.
the people that I work with, and in my case, working in education, the kind of students that I'm working with. So those kind of four things were the things that really would inform my my choices.
Mhm.
And anytime one of them was out of whack, I could make it still. But when two of them were out of whack, it was time to start looking.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I would say. You gotta you know what your priorities are in terms of what you need to be happy in your job,
Mhm.
and then if they're not being met, then you start thinking about your escape plan. Some people say, a lot of people say you never leave a job without another job, right? You should just monkey bar from one to the next,
Mhm.
if at all possible.
Right.
I would support that because I don't know about you if you've ever quit a job before you had a job, thinking, and I was all like, I had left Texas and moved to Atlanta, thinking I was gonna, I got a master's degree, who, I'm gonna get a job right away. And it took months and months, and the little money I had after using my money to move and all that stuff, and my little savings started dwindling away, and
Right.
start missing car payments, and like it was a lot.
Yeah.
So I learned whatever you do, if you have a job and you can keep it, don't leave it until you know you have another one. And a lot of people also say you should save up, maybe if you're going to do that, save up 6 months worth of salary
Right.
before you quit,
Yeah.
if you can afford to do
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I don't recommend quitting without another job.
Yeah.
And that's just me personally, just seeing, you know, my family members work so hard.
Right.
And then me being very, independent,
Hmm.
never wanting to ask for money from my family or
Right. Right.
friends.
Yeah. Oh
Always
yeah.
want to do it on my own.
Yeah.
Um, so, those were times when I'd stay longer because, okay, I got bills to pay.
Right.
And
Yes.
I don't want to be a burden on my family or friends,
Hmm.
because, I'm an adult.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I think as men, we kind of inherently want to be independent and live
Hmm.
on our own and
Yeah.
do our own stuff. So for me, um, I've always stayed at jobs until I found something else.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah.
lit a fire for me to work harder to find something.
Right, right. To
And
get out of there.
yeah, yeah.
So ultimately, hopefully that helped with that question there.
Mhm.
So we have a Reddit question that I found here. It looks like the person's name was Meg Ryan 2020.
Mhm.
So she wrote, I'm assuming it's a she. Does anyone else ever feel this way? Like you have a million tabs open in your brain, an endless list of ideas, things you want to do, things you need to do, things that you want or need to plan for, hobbies you want to make time for, goals you want to reach, things you want to create, skills you want to learn, information you want to consume, books you want to read, things you need to do for work, people you need to text back, time to make for family, friends, self-care, etc. And there's just too much on your mind at any given moment. So what ends up happening is that nothing gets done. Work days are unproductive. Work piles up. Nothing you want to do gets addressed. It's just this almost paralyzing feeling where you end up just doing nothing at all and procrastinating everything because you're so overwhelmed. Years go by and it just feels like wasted time and potential. That's me every day. Where do I even start tackling this problem?
That sounds like me a lot because there are a lot of ideas in my head that I've brought to your attention. I want to do this. I'm going to do that, and I've taken no action. And there are times when I have a lot of time, and I'm like doing nothing. And some of those things I want to do, I should have started or at least researched it, but I procrastinate a lot.
Right.
But I think for me, I'm beginning to prioritize a lot of things and make some goals for myself. So,
Well, she
it's a
has the
process.
goals. She said the goals are there. So, as someone who does this, why don't you put yourself first? Because to me, all this is someone who doesn't put themselves first, right? And so she said you relate to this. Then why don't you put yourself first?
I don't know. It's easier for me to think of others first, and when it comes to my life, I kind of put things on the back burner and not act.
Yeah, but it's not like you running around all day doing stuff with other people.
True.
So why aren't you doing stuff for yourself?
I think I get caught in my head. What do I do next?
Yeah.
Making a list of priorities.
Yeah.
And make the priorities attainable. They also have to be attainable for me to do, and just set the time to do it. I think it's just poor time management and a little bit of laziness, a little bit.
Yeah.
So many things running around. Where do I start first?
Yeah. I mean, she clearly has a lot of things she would love to do. And I think that some of this is depression to me. Some of it is procrastinating. But ultimately, she needs to talk to somebody, would be my advice. You need to talk to somebody. You need to talk to a professional and get some therapy to get into why. Why are you when you consciously know better but you don't choose to do better? What is that about? And we all do it, whether that's our fitness journey, how we eat, staying in that job, knowing that project is due tomorrow or a week from now, but you wait and do it the 24 hours
before,
the night before. Like we all do some version of it. There's so much writing I in my mind would like to do, but I am not doing it. To me, but what you do or don't do shows where your priorities are, really.
Yes.
And so clearly this woman has internet. She has lights, right? She has a phone, probably a cell phone, meaning she's doing enough at her job to keep her job, right?
Yeah.
So you do what you want to do when you want to do it.
True.
Ultimately, you do what you have to do when you have to do it. You have to decide that the dream, the goal, you have to do. Because when you choose not to do it, you're saying, I would like to do it.
Yeah.
But I don't have to do it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And so because you have decided you don't have to do it, then it stays back there. There comes to a certain point in my work or in my writing, doing podcasting, where I go, okay, let's go, let's do this. It's time to do this. Because there are certain things I want to do. There's certain things, how I see my life. And I know that no one is coming on a white horse to save me. Okay? No one's coming on a white horse to give us the kind of life that we want. Right. And so we have to, this is foregoing the mental health part of it, of the conversation, because I'm not a mental health expert, so I'm not going to speak to that. But I know that should be a part of this lady's conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
But in terms of ultimately how to fix this, you take some steps, as you said. You start writing things down. You start writing an order of priorities. You
Right.
do a due date. Girl, you know all this. You know it. You're just choosing. It's easier to not do it. And I get that.
Yeah.
But until you decide that goal X, Y, and Z rank in your life in a significant way,
Yeah.
you're going to continue to do just enough to get by. And you know, oh, I'm wasting my potential. I'm wasting my life. But you don't really feel that way. Not in a real way that matters. Because if you really felt that way, you get off your ass and you do some of these things that you're talking about.
Well, I think, sometimes you may go to that feeling of wasting your time and
Mm-hmm.
or maybe not being worthy of certain things
Mm-hmm.
but there's something keeping you in that place of not being um taking action.
Mm-hmm.
So I think there probably is some mental health there
Yeah. Yeah. And so
to learn why not, you know.
girl, take some action.
Mhm.
But even then, because you can know you need mental health
Mhm.
and then you don't do anything about it. You don't go and seek help.
Yeah.
You just go, oh yeah, I should get some help. And you turn on TV. Like, and there's no excuse now. With teledocs everywhere, like there's just no excuse anymore.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Why don't you lean back over? You leaning away from me
Oh,
because
sorry.
I feel like you feel like I was talking to you, so you leaned away from me
No, I'm not.
like
I'm not worried about that.
oh, okay.
Not at all.
All right. All right. So we're almost at the end of the road here. This is an interesting question, and I don't even know if there's a real answer. So someone wrote, "How do I become an entirely different person? How do I reinvent myself as a new person? I want to have at least 3 areas of my life sorted, including career, like my social life, meaningful relationship, hobbies. I just really want to stop existing, meaning I just want to stop just floating through life. And I guess this person feels like they're not taking the most of life. So how can they change it? Do you have any thoughts on that?"
um First they have to want change, right?
Mm-hmm.
you know uh, I think sometimes we are who we are, and I know there are a lot of things that we see that we may want to change or experience,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but they've got to want it,
Right.
bad enough to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because I have friends who think, I'm boring or whatever, because I don't go a lot of places, I
Right.
don't do a
Right.
lot of things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but for me, I'm good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then there are times when I want to, okay, let me learn this or learn that,
Right, right.
and I do it, but I don't kick myself because I am who I am
Mm.
in my life at
Yeah,
this moment.
definitely. Yeah,
But I do see a lot of people kicking themselves. Oh, I'm just existing, that
yeah.
kind of thing. Not everybody can be
Right. Not everybody's a globetrotter,
right.
but if that's important to you, if you look at somebody going, oh, they're living my life, they're globetrotting. Okay, well, let's start figuring out how you can do that,
True.
right? If that's something that's important to you, because there's plenty of people who are doing it. But girl, the other thing is, don't the grass is not always greener because they could be doing it and
True.
it's on all kind of credit card debt.
Right.
They could be doing it and they scamming. So girl, you really can't base it off of what you see other people doing. It definitely needs to come from
Yeah.
within.
Definitely don't compare yourself to others
Yeah.
at all.
But what I will say, this reminds me of I had a moment like this when I was in junior high,
Hmm.
actually. Um, I was bullied in junior high for being everybody assuming I was gay and flamboyant and what have you, or not butch enough and not whatever enough. And this was around the time when movies like Can't Buy Me Love came out. And I don't know if you remember those kind of movies where there's these movies with kids in high school who get makeovers and with new clothes, and the girl takes her glasses off, and now she's popular, and so I'm sure this is where this came from, because I was like, okay, I was in eighth grade, getting ready to go into ninth grade, and I was like, this can't continue. Something has to change.
Okay.
And I'm not going to be doing this picking on me shit in high school. So I said, and I don't know how this came to me. So I said, what are the cool kids doing? What are they doing that I'm not doing? And I was like, oh, at my school, they were in the honor society. They were smart. They were in band. They were in athletics. They were in student government and leadership. They were honor students. So I said, okay, I got to figure out my way into this stuff. And so I went to the English teacher. And mind you, at this point, I'm in remedial English. And I go to the English teacher and I go, I want to be in honors English. How do I get in there? And she looked at me and she said, well, you're going to have to, make all A's in a semester of this to get to the next level, and then A's again. And I said, okay. And then I did it. I studied. I worked hard because I knew that's what I wanted to do. Then I was like, okay, I'm gonna get in band. And I went to the band director and I said, but I also noticed that there was this person in front of everybody called a drum major who was leading everybody. Right. I said, how do I do that? And he was like, well, first you got to get in band.
Right.
I said, okay, well, I'll get in band. I ain't got no money to buy no instrument. What's the easiest instrument you got that don't cost nothing?
Right.
This is me as whatever I was, freshman, eighth grader. He was like, okay, we got the treble clef baritone. I'll take it. Okay. Did it, became drum major. Ended up in honors, ended up a class officer, ended up and I was never picked on. I'm sure people talked about me behind my back, but like that gay boy.
It's always gonna be that.
Yeah. But I made a conscious decision to change the experience that I wanted to have. And so and I reinvented myself. So I would say to this person, look at the things you want to do and then look at what it takes to get it.
Right.
I want to be a globetrotter. I want to be someone who globetrots. Well, how are you going to manifest that? Are you going to manifest that through, are you going to get a job where you can work remotely? Are you going to, you want to travel around the country? Maybe you're going to get you a Winnebago, whatever they call the things now. Mm-hmm. You can get you some kind of car you can travel in. Like, take the steps.
Yeah.
We really now live in a day and age where when you tell me you want to do something and you are taking no steps to do it,
and you really don't want
it. You don't want to do it. I don't believe you. Yeah. I do not believe you. I will smile and I won't talk to you the way I'm talking right now. I'm like, oh, that's great. Oh, I can see you. I can see that for you. But in my mind.
But at some point, don't you get tired of hearing the same old?
And you keep coming back to me again and again. I'm going to do that. I'm going to travel. I'm going to be a world traveler. Girl, we've been talking a year now. And what really gets me if it's like you whining about it.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I would love to be a world traveler.
Right.
Girl, every time I talk to you, you whining about being a world traveler. Why aren't you doing it? Why haven't you made a step? You don't know nothing about world traveling.
Right. Right.
At this point, and you've been whining about it for a year.
Yeah.
No plan.
Yeah. Sure.
Just tell me. Well, girl, I'm just looking for something to bitch about, and I just like to have something to talk about. Oh, okay, girl. Okay, I get that. I can feel you on that.
Right.
But
yeah, I mean, your journey started early. I wasn't like that. I mean, I was, from a small town. I mean, you were too, but back then I didn't know what I wanted.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any.
Well, I didn't know exactly what I wanted. I just knew I didn't want to be picked on.
Okay,
but go ahead.
That was something.
That was something. Yes.
I was never picked on. My family was there. I had.
You got a lot of backup.
My cousin Whitney, Wendy, and my brothers, nobody messed with me like that.
Right.
And I was, a happy kid for the most part. So it wasn't until I got older then I, said to myself, okay, I want to have this, I want to live this kind of way. I want to have this kind of job. So I started, pushing myself for different and better. Even friendships and relationships, I stopped hanging around certain people that were bringing me down, who had no interest in my well-being. So I had to let people go. Recycle them out or what have you. And, I did those kind of changes and, it worked out for me.
Yeah.
But it was, something I wanted and I made it happen.
Right. Yeah. And that's ultimately the thing, right? Is that we do invest in the things that are important to us, either consciously or unconsciously or subconsciously.
Yeah.
We do. And sometimes it's stuff that maybe we can't, because maybe there's some kind of addiction you have or some kind of depression. Or there could be some medical, psychological reasons that why even after you try to make a plan, the plan falls through.
Yeah.
Which is different. But if, girl, you haven't even made a plan and made it, and sorry, not just a plan, but an attempt at the plan. Attempted the plan, then I don't want to hear about it. So, girl, you can reinvent yourself. How do you do it? You gotta what's the vision?
Yeah.
Because you have to see it in your mind's eye. It's like directing a play. You have to see the show in your mind. You got to see your life. And they tell you, visualize the body you want when you go to the gym, all that kind of stuff. You have to see it. If you can't see it, it can't happen for you. It doesn't matter if no one else can see it. But if you can't see it for yourself, that's what matters.
Yeah, that's true. You just have to take action.
Yeah.
And make those priorities happen.
Yeah.
If not, don't talk about it.
Yeah. Don't talk about it.
Well, don't talk about the others, right?
Right. Well, you have anything else? I think that's it for the show today.
Oh, great. Wonderful topics.
Yeah. Hopefully we didn't bore y'all today. Everything was pretty serious. Wasn't a lot of jokes this episode.
No. We went deep this time.
Yeah, deep this episode. But hopefully it was helpful. As always, we really appreciate you guys listening or watching or both. Hey, do it both ways. Run them numbers up.
Yeah.
But also, thank you guys for starting to subscribe and follow the channel. We really appreciate that, to follow our podcast. The numbers are rising. Maybe our chastising worked. I don't know. Or maybe it's just coincidence. I don't know. But either way, we really appreciate you because it means a lot. It shows that when you click a notification to say, I want to be notified when they release a new episode, that lets us know, keep doing it.
Yeah.
There are people out there who want to hear what you have to say. And of course, you have opportunity to make comments, and please do, because we do want to continue to grow. There's other topics or subject matter you think we should cover.
Yeah.
Let us know, because you as the listener, as the watcher, you're our producers too, because we don't have producers. We're self-producing ourselves, right? So we're coming up with these titles and these subject matters. But if there's things that are on your mind, we would love to hear about it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Just let us know. Definitely keep watching and sharing and, participate, and let us know what you want to hear about or, and we'll discuss it.
Yeah. So you can follow us on our social media. You can follow me at CHK _creates on Instagram. You can follow Shannon at Shannon K. That's
SCHANNON.
On Instagram. Let me say that clearer because I fumbled that. Shannon, SCHANNONK on Instagram.
Right.
You can follow the Two Grooms in a podcast also, all spelled out, on Instagram as well, where we post clips and excerpts from the shows. Also, you can email us now at our Gmail account, which is twogroomsandapod@gmail.com, all spelled out. That way you can email us directly any suggestions, thoughts, questions that you want read, like, you know, some Dear Grooms questions. We would love those to read them on the air and offer advice or opinions about the situation, because, you know, we love giving unsolicited advice.
Of course.
That should be like a whole section, just unsolicited advice. I mean, maybe that's technically the podcast, but yeah. But thank y'all so much for your support. We really appreciate you, and we love you guys for watching.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.